I'm Carol, and my older sister Angela has always been the family's golden child. While I was just, well, me. From the moment I can remember, our parents made it crystal clear who their favorite was. Angela this, Angela that. Why can't you be more like your sister, became the soundtrack of my childhood. And I get it, I really do. Angela was everything a parent could dream of: straight A's, captain of the cheerleading squad, and looks that turned heads wherever she went. Me? I was the definition of average. My grades were okay, nothing spectacular. I didn't fail classes, but I definitely wasn't making the honor roll either. And my appearance? Let's just say I wasn't stopping traffic anytime soon. Carol, honey, maybe if you tried a little harder with your makeup? Mom would say, while Dad would just shake his head disapprovingly at my report cards. Meanwhile, Angela would strut around the house like she owned it, flipping her perfect hair and checking her phone every 2 seconds. Oh my God, you're wearing that to school? Angela would sneer at my outfit choices. No wonder you can't get a date. You look like something that crawled out of a horror movie. I remember one particular morning when I was getting ready for school. Angela barged into my room without knocking, as usual. Hey, horror story, she called out, her favorite nickname for me. Mom wants to know if you're planning on looking like a troll all your life or if this is just a phase. Can you just leave me alone? I mumbled, trying to finish brushing my hair. She leaned against my doorframe, examining her perfectly manicured nails. I'm just trying to help you, little sis. It must be so sad being you. No boyfriend, no real friends. Don't you ever get tired of being such a hermit? The worst part wasn't even her words, it was how our parents would laugh along when she made these comments. Oh, Angela's just teasing, they'd say. Sisters do that. But I knew better. I saw the gleam in her eyes when she'd put me down, the satisfaction she got from making me feel small. It wasn't just teasing, it was her way of feeling superior. The halls of our high school were Angela's kingdom. Everyone knew her, everyone wanted to be her or be with her. Teachers loved her, guys drooled over her, and girls tried to copy everything from her walk to the way she wore her backpack. And there I was, her shadow of a sister, barely noticed by anyone. They didn't even bother to learn my name most of the time. I was just Angela's sister, the disappointing sequel to their favorite movie, the store-brand version of their premium product. And Angela made sure to remind me of this every chance she got. I still remember that night like it happened yesterday. It was a Friday evening when Angela suddenly appeared in my room, wearing one of her designer outfits. Get dressed, she announced, looking around my room with her usual air of superiority. You're coming to a party with me. I looked up from my book, suspicious. Angela had never invited me anywhere before. What? Why? She rolled her eyes. Because I'm tired of having a hermit for a sister. It's embarrassing. Come on, try to look, well, as good as you can manage. Part of me wanted to say no, but another part thought maybe she was actually trying to be nice for once. Maybe things could change between us. God, I was so stupid. While I was getting ready, I actually felt a tiny bit excited. Maybe this was my chance to finally fit in, to show everyone I wasn't just Angela's weird sister. I put on my nicest jeans and a blue top that Mom once said looked good on me. The party was at one of Angela's friends' houses. The moment we walked in, I knew I didn't belong. Everyone there was from Angela's crowd, the popular kids, the ones who barely knew I existed. Music was blasting, and people were clustered in groups, laughing and drinking from red cups. I found a quiet corner and stayed there, watching everyone else have fun. Nobody talked to me, but that was fine. I was used to being invisible. Then it happened. Carol, Angela's voice cut through the music. Come here, there's someone I want you to meet. I should have known better. I should have stayed in my corner. But I went. Angela was standing with this really good-looking guy, tall, athletic, exactly her type. She had this smile on her face that I knew meant trouble. This is my sister I was telling you about, she announced loudly, making sure everyone nearby could hear. The one who's never had a boyfriend. And you're single too, right, Jason? People around us started snickering. I felt my face getting hot. What do you think? Angela continued, her voice dripping with fake enthusiasm. You two would make such a cute couple. Jason looked me up and down like I was something gross on the bottom of his shoe. Yeah, no thanks, he said with a smirk. I'm not really into that. Angela threw her head back laughing. I told you, didn't I? Nobody would date her. I mean, look at her. Everyone was laughing now. The sound seemed to fill the whole room, bouncing off the walls and crushing me. I ran out of that house as fast as I could, tears streaming down my face. I ran all the way home, not stopping until I was in my room. Later that night, I told my parents what happened. Mom just looked uncomfortable, but Dad shrugged it off. It was just a joke, Carol, he said, not even looking up from his newspaper. Your sister was just trying to help you come out of your shell. You need to learn to take a joke. That night, lying in my bed and staring at the ceiling, I realized something important: Angela would never change. And my parents would never see her for what she really was. Watching Angela date was like watching someone shop for designer handbags. She'd pick up the most expensive one, show it off for a while, then trade it in the moment something better came along. Did you hear? Mike's the new rugby captain, I overheard one of her friends say during lunch one day. Before the words were even fully out of her friend's mouth, Angela had already dumped her boyfriend, the former team captain, via text. By the end of the day, she was hanging off Mike's arm in the hallway. It's all about status, little sister, she told me one day while applying her lipstick. You wouldn't understand since you've never had a boyfriend, but guys are like accessories. You need to upgrade them regularly. I watched this pattern repeat itself over and over. When Brad Watson's parents bought him a Mercedes for his 16th birthday, Angela was suddenly very interested in his taste in music. But when Tyler Mitchell showed up in a brand new Porsche 2 months later, Brad became old news. Oh my God, you should have seen Brad's face, Angela laughed while telling her friends about the breakup. He actually thought I liked him for his personality. She'd parade her new boyfriends around the house like trophies. I'm doing them a favor, really, she'd say, lounging on our couch while texting her latest conquest. Do you know how many girls would kill to date these guys? They should be grateful I even look their way. Then came James. He was different from the others, older, from a wealthy family, and already in college. Angela met him at some charity event our parents dragged her to, and suddenly, she was talking about long-term plans. Our parents were thrilled. James's parents were exactly the kind of people they wanted to associate with. Both families got together for dinner regularly, making plans, and talking about the future like it was all settled. They're just perfect together, Mom would gush to anyone who would listen. Angela and James are meant to be. But even with her perfect relationship, Angela couldn't resist taking shots at me. Hey, horror story, she called out one evening as I passed her room. Is it true what I heard? That Tommy from your chemistry class moved his seat because he couldn't stand looking at you? I tried to ignore her, but she followed me into the hallway. You know what's really sad, she continued, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. You're 16 and you've never even been kissed. I had my first kiss in 7th grade. But then again, I don't look like something that crawled out of a drain. Her laughter followed me all the way to my room. I slammed the door, but I could still hear her talking on the phone to one of her friends. Can you believe it? 16 and never been kissed. God, it must be so depressing being her. I mean, at least if she had a personality, but she's just nothing. Life got a bit quieter after Angela went off to college. She got into Preston University, one of those fancy schools where everybody's somebody important. Of course, our parents couldn't stop bragging about it to anyone who would listen. I was still trudging through high school, but at least I didn't have to see her perfect face every day anymore. She only came home on weekends and holidays, which was more than enough for me. But something was different about college Angela. Every time she came home, she had new stuff, expensive stuff. One weekend it was the latest iPhone, the next it was a designer handbag that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. "Where are you getting all this?" I asked one Saturday morning, watching her unpack yet another shopping bag full of clothes that still had their tags on. She just rolled her eyes at me. "Mind your own business, horror story. Just because your life is boring doesn't mean you get to nose around in mine." The weird thing was, James, her supposedly perfect boyfriend, didn't seem to be buying her all this stuff. He was rich, sure, but whenever he visited, he brought normal gifts, like flowers or chocolates. Then one day, I was walking past her room when I heard her phone going crazy with notifications. Buzz, 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 one after another. She'd left it on her dresser while she was in the shower. I know I shouldn't have looked. But after years of her tormenting me, I guess I felt like I deserved to know her secrets. The screen showed a guy's photo I'd never seen before, definitely not James. Some guy named Mike. I couldn't see the messages, but there were a lot of them. That night, I went full detective mode on social media, trying to find this mystery Mike. No luck. But I did notice something strange. Angela had unfriended and deleted all photos with Sarah, her best friend from college. Sarah. She'd stayed at our house a few times when she and Angela were still friends. Unlike my sister, Sarah was genuinely nice. She'd sit in my room and show me how to do makeup properly, talking to me like I was a real person, not just Angela's embarrassing little sister. "You have really pretty eyes," she'd told me once, while showing me how to apply eyeliner. "You just need to learn how to make them pop." She never made me feel like I was some kind of freak show, the way Angela did. She'd even stuck up for me once, when Angela started in with her usual insults. But now Sarah was gone, all traces of her erased from Angela's social media, like she'd never existed. Something wasn't adding up. I stared at Sarah's social media profile for a long time before getting up the courage to message her. What if she ignored me? What if she was as two-faced as my sister? But I had to know. "Hey Sarah, it's Carol, Angela's sister," I typed. "I noticed you and Angela aren't friends anymore. Did something happen?" The response came faster than I expected. The moment those 3 dots appeared, showing she was typing, my heart started racing. "Carol, I was actually thinking about messaging you," she wrote. "I guess you deserve to know the truth about your perfect sister." What followed was like watching a house of cards collapse. Sarah's next message made my jaw drop. "Angela stole my boyfriend, Mike. We'd been together for 3 years. She didn't even look his way until she found out about his family's money. Then suddenly, she was everywhere, at his fraternity events, his football games, even showing up at his family's restaurant by coincidence." I felt sick to my stomach as I read on. She'd come to his family events pretending to be my friend, then she'd pull him aside to talk about investment opportunities or ask for advice about expensive things she wanted to buy. Before I knew it, they were secretly dating. He was buying her all those designer clothes and gadgets she's been flaunting. But what about James? I typed back, my hands shaking. "She's still with him, right?" "Exactly," Sarah replied. "She's playing both of them. Mike's the backup plan, her college ATM. But James is the real prize. She's just waiting to see which one works out better." Everything clicked into place, the mysterious texts, the expensive gifts, the deleted photos. My perfect sister was running a con on 2 guys at once. But Angela didn't even have to wait long to decide. Just a few days later, James got a massive inheritance from his grandmother. Within hours, Angela was flashing an engagement ring all over social media. She'd finally hit the jackpot. I went to her room that evening, thinking maybe, just maybe, this happy moment might make her softer towards me. "Congratulations, Angela," I said, trying to smile. "I'm really happy for." "Save it," she cut me off. "And by the way, don't bother buying a dress for the wedding. You're not coming." I felt like she'd slapped me. "What? But I'm your sister." she laughed, that cruel laugh I knew so well. Exactly. And I'm having a perfect wedding. Perfect venue, perfect dress, perfect guests. Do you really think I want you there, looking like, well, you? But. I mean, seriously, she continued, examining her new ring. Can you imagine how you'd look in the photos? Next to all my beautiful friends? It would be embarrassing, though. She pretended to think for a moment. We might need extra waitstaff. You could do that, if you think you can manage not to drop everything. I stood there, fighting back tears, when our parents walked in. What's wrong? Mom asked, seeing my face. Angela explained her no Carol at the wedding rule, and to my horror, our parents started laughing. You know, Carol, Mom said, trying to sound sympathetic but failing miserably. Your sister's right. It's her special day. You can stay home and watch the house while we're gone. It'll be nice and quiet for you. I lay in bed that night, staring at my ceiling, their laughter still ringing in my ears. Not good enough to attend my own sister's wedding. Not even good enough to be seen by her perfect guests. Just the ugly little sister, better off hidden away at home. Years of humiliation played through my mind like a movie, Angela mocking me in front of her friends, making me cry at that party, telling everyone I was a horror story, and now this, being banned from her wedding while my own parents laughed along. Then I remembered something, the engagement party was scheduled for next weekend at our house. Angela had been planning it for days, making sure everything would be perfect for her perfect fiancé and their perfect families. Suddenly, I sat up in bed. Maybe it was time for little invisible Carol to finally make herself seen. I grabbed my phone and messaged Sarah. Hey, I need your help with something. What's up? She replied almost immediately. You know Mike's social media accounts, right? Could you send me the links? With Sarah's help, I found Mike's profile. He looked exactly like the guy from the phone notifications, tall, handsome, definitely Angela's type. And definitely loaded, based on his photos. My heart was pounding as I crept downstairs. As usual, Mom's laptop was sitting open on the kitchen counter, her social media page still logged in. She never logged out, claiming it was too much hassle to keep typing in her password. I sat down and started typing a message to Mike from Mom's account. Dear Mike, I've heard so much about you from my daughter Angela. She speaks of you so often, and I would love to finally meet you in person. We're having a small family gathering at our house next weekend to celebrate some wonderful news. I would be delighted if you could join us. Please don't mention this to Angela, I'd love it to be a surprise for her. She'll be so happy to see you there. My hands were shaking as I hit send. Within minutes, a response popped up. Mrs. Harrison. I'm honored by your invitation. Angela has told me so much about you too. I'd love to come and meet everyone. Don't worry, I won't spoil the surprise. What time should I arrive? I quickly sent him the details, then carefully deleted the entire conversation from Mom's messages. My heart was racing as I closed the laptop, making sure to leave it exactly as I'd found it. Back in my room, I messaged Sarah again, phase 1 complete. Now I need you to do something for me. Name it, she replied. Come to the engagement party. I'll get you in. I want you there when everything goes down. Are you sure about this, Carol? It could get really messy. I thought about Angela's cruel smile as she told me I couldn't come to her wedding. About all the times she'd humiliated me. About our parents laughing along with her jokes. Yes, I typed back. It's time for perfect Angela to get a taste of her own medicine. Then count me in, Sarah replied. She deserves everything that's coming to her. I closed my phone and lay back on my bed, my heart still racing. For the first time in my life, I felt powerful. Angela had no idea what was coming. Her perfect little world was about to shatter, and for once, I wouldn't be the one in tears. The engagement party was everything Angela had dreamed of. Our house was decorated like something out of a magazine, white roses everywhere, champagne flowing, and Angela at the center of it all, basking in the attention. She and James stood in our living room, looking like the perfect couple from a romance movie. Her in a designer dress that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe, him in an expensive suit, both of them glowing with that special kind of happiness that comes from thinking you've got everything figured out. "We'd like to make it official," James announced, his arm around Angela's waist. "Angela and I are engaged to be married." The room erupted in applause. Mom was crying happy tears, Dad was shaking James's hand, and Angela was showing off her massive diamond ring to anyone who would look. I checked my phone. Any minute now. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Mike standing there with an enormous bouquet of roses. My heart started racing. He walked in just as Angela was kissing James in front of everyone. The flowers dropped from Mike's hands. "Angela?" His voice cut through the party chatter like a knife. Angela froze. The color drained from her face as she turned around. "Mike, what are you? How did you? What the hell is going on?" James demanded, looking between Angela and Mike. "Who is this guy?" "I'm her boyfriend," Mike snapped. "Who are you?" "I'm her fiancé." The room went dead silent. Angela stood between them, her perfect mask cracking. "Fiancé?" Mike laughed bitterly. "That's funny, because last weekend she was in my bed, telling me how much she loved me." "You're lying," James snarled, but I could see doubt creeping into his eyes. "Am I?" Mike pulled out his phone. "Should I show everyone the texts? The pictures? How about all the receipts for the gifts you've been enjoying, Angela?" Right on cue, Sarah walked in. Angela's eyes went even wider. "Oh, this should be good," Sarah said loudly, making everyone turn. "Anyone want to hear about how Angela stole my boyfriend after finding out about his trust fund? Or how she's been playing both these guys for months?" "It's not. I didn't," Angela stammered. "Tell them about the plan, Angela," Sarah continued mercilessly. "About how you were going to string Mike along for another year, keeping him on the hook while you planned your wedding to James. About how you picked James because his inheritance was bigger." The perfect engagement party dissolved into chaos. James's parents were shouting. Our relatives were whispering and staring. Mom had collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. "Is this true?" James demanded, his face red with anger. "Have you been lying to me this whole time?" "Baby, please," Angela pleaded, reaching for him. "I can explain everything." "Don't touch me," he spat, yanking off his engagement ring. "We're done. Completely done." "Mike, please," Angela turned to her backup plan, but he was already heading for the door. "Have a nice life, Angela," he called over his shoulder. "I hope all those designer bags were worth it." I stood in the corner, watching my sister's perfect world implode. Years of her cruelty, her mockery, her humiliation of me, it all led to this moment. Angela stood in the middle of the room, mascara running down her face, as both her carefully manipulated relationships crashed and burned. The house felt different after the engagement party disaster. Angela spent 3 days locked in her room, only coming out when everyone else was asleep. I could hear her crying through the walls, but for once, I felt no sympathy. On the 4th day, she started packing. Nobody tried to stop her when she loaded her expensive clothes and designer bags into her car. Mom stood at the window crying, Dad stayed in his study, pretending nothing was happening, and I sat on the stairs, watching the golden child's exit. Then she transferred to Berkeley and was gone, off to California to finish her senior year where nobody knew perfect Angela Harrison and her spectacular fall from grace. Everyone had their own theory about what happened at the party. Most people thought Sarah had orchestrated the whole thing, revenge for Angela stealing her boyfriend. Mom and Dad whispered about it when they thought I couldn't hear. I never told them the truth. Let them think what they wanted. They'd spent years believing only the best about Angela while ignoring her cruelty toward me. Why should I correct them now? I focused on finishing high school instead. My grades actually improved after Angela left, Turns out it's easier to concentrate when you're not constantly being torn down by your own sister. Sarah and I kept in touch. She messaged me last week with some interesting news. "You won't believe this," she wrote, "but Mike and I are back together. He apologized for everything with Angela. Said she had him completely fooled, but now he sees what she really is. He proposed last night." I was happy for her. At least something good came out of this whole mess. As for me, I got accepted to a college on the East Coast. Mom and Dad weren't thrilled. They wanted me to stay closer to home, probably so they'd have someone to focus on now that their perfect daughter was gone. But I'm done being their backup plan. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty about what I did to Angela. But then I remember all the times she humiliated me, all the cruel jokes, all the times she made me feel worthless while our parents laughed along. She spent years building her perfect life on lies and manipulation, using people like they were disposable. All I did was expose the truth. They say karma's a mirror, it shows you exactly what you've been showing others. Angela spent years making me feel small and worthless in front of others. Now she knows exactly how that feels.